Hello, this is Mike Swanson of WallStreetWindow.com, and title of this podcast is What is Going On with the Wall Street Window website. This is kind of like a inside the business podcast, I suppose you want to say. And the market is changing. The stock market has changed this year. It's much different than it was last year. And part of what's going on is I'm adapting to that reality. I've already done that with my own investments. I've been trying to do everything I can do to help other people do the same thing ahead of a more volatile market this year, a bear market this year. And that means new tactics are necessary to make money. Shorting stocks and also going long things that are breaking away from the bear trend of the market. And when it comes to shorting stocks, on New Year's, I released an entire course dedicated to identifying junk stocks to bet against and how to find them. The course even shows you the scans that I use to look for these stocks. And you can get into the course if you haven't done so already by clicking the link below this video, because I think this is the number one way to make money when it comes to the U.S. stock market this year. The other way is to, frankly, buy gold in mining stocks this year because they're breaking away from the bear trend of the market. However, I don't advocate buying things simply because they're up big in a single week or a single day. So I'm being very patient before I make recommendations myself in those areas, even though I am long and happy to be long. And there's also going to be other markets that will eventually break away from the bear trend that everyone is getting caught up in when it comes to the U.S. stock market. And if you, I've laid out an entire game plan for adapting these markets months ago in my book titled The Stock Market Bubble Bust of 2015 and Beyond. So get my book and get into the short selling POS stocks course, and these are things that, when it comes to making money, that's really the core thing of what this website's about. However, I decided to focus more and more when it comes to money making and investing in specific actionable information on only the Power Investor Premium members. Because, frankly, the average person in this type of market has a very difficult time. And it's harder and harder to help the average person make money with just bland, general advice telling people what they want to hear. For instance, what most people want to hear is all they need to do is buy stocks or invest in stock market funds and be patient, and they're just going to make money and it's going to go up forever. And that's the only thing they want to hear. And that message really just doesn't work anymore. It was good from 2009 to really 2014, but no longer. If you look at 2015, the market averages were essentially even. I think the S&P 500 was up like 1%, but most stocks fell. That's the kind of thing that precedes a bear market, as we warned about. But what that did, though, was it made most people that were playing individual stocks actually lose money. In fact, it wasn't just the regular investor, but hedge funds as a whole had a tough time in the markets last year. The professional investor as a whole had a tough time in the markets last year. The reason why is because most stocks fell and did very poorly. And it was only like 24 stocks in the NASDAQ 100 that went up and lifted the market averages up. So by the end of the year, if you were watching CNBC and Fast Money and these shows, by then it was only 5 stocks that were doing well, the so-called FANG stocks: Facebook, Amazon, Netflix, and Google. I think those stocks topped out in January and no longer any good, but they became the only things working for people. What this did, though, was to a mutual fund manager, a professional money manager, who typically has to invest in let's say 100 stocks and be diversified. They can't put all their money in 5 stocks, which frankly would be a reckless thing for anyone to do. That meant that it was very difficult for those people to try to beat the market when only a couple stocks were helping lift up the market as a whole. So that's why the professionals, for the most part, had a tough time last year. Now this year is different because interesting things are developing. You can make money shorting stocks. That's what the course is about. And you can buy stocks at some point this year in the mining complex, which is much more bullish than it was a year ago. It's in the new bull market. Gold is above its 200-day moving averages, and so are the mining stocks, ETFs, and the HUI index. In bull markets, you want to buy dips. In periods of pauses and consolidations, you have to be patient for those things to line up. And that's what I'm doing. And in bear markets, you make money by using rallies to short stocks, get out positions that you no longer want to own. And that's what I'm going to advocate, even if that goes against what the individual people, for the most part, want to hear. Now, the Power Investor members are different. They can use such actionable data because they've gotten the course, they've got my material, or they already have these ideas before they find me on the internet. But when it comes to 99% of the people out there, they simply don't want to take the time to make changes or do things differently than they've done in the years before. They have this the buy and hold forever mentality, and I just don't have information that's helpful for such people. And as a result, that's one reason I've shifted some of what I'm doing when it comes to the free information I'm putting out there. Now, my hope is to help people through this podcast and through videos I do with such people as David Skarica. I plan on doing more frequent podcasts with other traders and mix things up and making that my main way of trying to help people when it comes to their trading and investing. And when it comes to the monthly free PDF I put out, I'm going to kind of stop talking about specific trades and specific ideas and keep that only for the Power Investor members, and instead kind of use that as a tool to open people's minds up from the simple buy and hold mentality that they've been trained to use from the financial media. And then also to get them to do that, I want to open them up to simply ending their sole trust and dependency on just simply accepting what they hear from the TV and experts, and trying to think for themselves and believe in themselves, and so forth. So I'm not in that newsletter. I'm not just going to, for now on, talk only about the big picture of the stock market, but some other things that interest me too, because I have lots of other interests. I have lots of interest in history. I read all sorts of news things to keep up with what's going on. I write books, on historical topics. I'm actually writing a book about the Vietnam War that, it's not going to be done for a year or two, but I do lots of things besides the stock market, and I'm going to make the website reflect these broader interests I have. The podcast and what I do gives me an opportunity to interview people I would like to talk to, and that's something I'm probably going to start to do as time goes on. Not just interview people about the stock market, but talk with people that I want to talk to, and I can use my website as a platform to reach out to people and do that. So when you go to the Wall Street Window website today, or if you've been doing this the past couple weeks, you may have been noticing on the front page a whole mix of stories in posts. Most of them do have to do with the market or the economy and so forth. But some posts are about the presidential election or just simply interesting videos I've seen, and I've got people digging things up too to share them on here. So I'm trying to make the Wall Street Window website an interesting place for people to go to, not just to hear about an opinion about the stock market, but other things, of interest on the internet. The internet is an interesting thing. It's a great tool to get information, and there's so much out there every single day, but it's such a mass of stuff that I'm hoping to make Wall Street Window into a valuable place where people can go to during the week to find stories that are interesting and to aggregate. I want to aggregate the content of the internet to show interesting places. There's websites I go to every single day that do this. The Drudge Report, for example, does this, and that's why I go to it. I'm not trying to copy the Drudge Report or mimic the stories it's posting. I've got my own unique things I'm interested in, and that's what I'm trying to get pushed out onto this website and people I follow and so forth. And I think this is information that, while I do not really feel motivated to give specific ideas anymore when it comes to trades to the general masses, and leave that for only the premium paying Power Investor members. A short selling idea frankly does not appeal to 99% of the people in the stock market. So there's really no utility in trying to communicate specific short selling ideas to the general person that's watching CNBC. That's why CNBC does not have a show about short selling. They got Jim Cramer. They want picks, and they deliver picks. Well, I'm not that kind of person. But I do have information and ideas, though, that I think can appeal to the general person out there in the financial markets. And if they can get value from that, then they may become interested in the real information about trading stocks and making money that I do have to share, but I just want to keep for the paying members. So that's what's going on with Wall Street Window. A little bit of an editorial shift that's taken place this year in accordance with the changing trends of the market and also the country. Look, I don't know where everything's going, and I'm trying to learn just like you are and everyone else is about what's happening. We're in times of change, not only in the financial markets, but for the nation as a whole, and we don't know where everything's heading. I think that's actually the number one lesson of what we've seen so far this year. Not only have we seen surprises in the financial markets, but in the political campaigns. I'm not out here to try to support one candidate or another, but I do think that what's going on in the Republican primary in particular is a sign of momentous change, disorder in politics that's also reflecting what's going on in the stock market, not caused by the stock market. Both of them are symptoms of, maybe we can call it a peak, a peak of the stock market, and also a strange turning point in our political system, which, lots of things have led up to it. And it's just as lots of things have led up to what's going on in the stock market going forward. So that's what I want to talk about with you today. And again, if you want more actionable investment information, real trading ideas, short selling ideas to take advantage of the falling stock market, the bear market trend, join the POS Stocks Total program. That will also get you a trial into the Power Investor group and also into my private Facebook group, where we look at these stocks and talk about these things every single day, one-on-one. So do that if you want to really take advantage of what's going on in the financial markets, and I'll talk with you later.